All right, in this video, we are going to look at some of the final steps, starting a policy, and then what to expect once it is official. So when starting a policy, the first thing that we want to touch on is really awareness. And we like to do this before you actually start the policy, before you sign off, and before you pay. Is here we've got annual and then minimum premium. What I'd like to touch on here is really the payment frequency. So depending on how you actually make payments to your cash value life insurance policy will determine if the insurance company is going to assess additional fees. You'll find with most insurance companies, if you are paying any other frequency than annual, they're going to hit you with an additional fee. Let's demonstrate this. So if we look at a Mass Mutual illustration here, we see an individual paying in $100,000 per year. Now on the illustration, they actually disclose that the fee is about 9.5% for any other frequency compared to annual. Doesn't really come out to 9.5%. Based on their formula it does, but here's how I like to look at it. Annually, he's paying in $100,000. Here's the 100K per year. But if we look at monthly, we see that his payment is $8,700 per month, which if you crunch that with a calculator, multiply it by 12, it would come out to $104,400, meaning he's paying an additional $4,400 per year to get the same result. So if he was paying monthly, what this illustration would read is each year be $104,400, and the additional $4,400 is a fee that goes to Mass Mutual. To give a little perspective to that, if he continued to pay monthly for 10 years, that comes out to $44,000 in pure fees that go to the insurance carrier. Now, all companies have different fees and such, but having awareness on this is very, very important. Now, with that said, we see that the shorter the frequency is, if we look at semi-annual, the fee is about $2,300, and quarterly, it's $103,560. As a policyholder, you will always have the option to switch back and forth between monthly, annually. If life happens and you need to pay monthly for a little bit, you can do that, and you're only charged the fee for the months that you're paying monthly, or for the quarter, you're paying quarterly. If you were to switch back to annual for the remainder of the year, there's no fee since you're paying it annually all up front. But there is a fee there, which is very, very important to be aware of up front. Now, we see minimum premium and then PUA at leisure next. So what I'm referring to here, all companies have different rules. Guardian, as I've mentioned several times, has a lot of PUA flexibility. You may have selected Guardian for that exact reason, but a nice way to avoid the additional fees that the insurance company assesses is by paying the premium annually. So for example, if we go back to the $100,000 per year sample, if that's you paying that much in, if you said, okay, I went with Guardian because I did not want to be billed for the full $100,000 up front, what you could do is pay just the minimum premium annually, $10,000 per year, might be $11,000 or $12,000 with the term rider attached, but you're committing just to the minimum, and there's no monthly or additional surcharge fees on that annual premium, and then make the PUA payments at leisure on an unscheduled basis, which means you log onto your online portal, throw them in whenever you want, send them in via check, completely up to you. Now, with unscheduled PUA payments, there's no additional surcharge. There's no monthly fee, quarterly fee, semi-annual fee. There is still the standard PUA fee. Also, PUA deposits will begin to earn interest, the guaranteed rate, and dividends when they are deposited. It's good to have awareness on that, but a nice way to avoid the fee, this is what I do with two of my policies actually. I commit to that minimum amount. I'm not dinged or nickeled and dimed in respect to fees at all because I'm paying it annually, and then I just add PUAs at my discretion, dependent on my cash flow. So it's a nice way or a nice option to be aware of in respect to Guardian policies. You can technically do it with mass policies as well, but there's a lot of just holes you have to jump through in respect to their PUA flexibility. The one time per year keeps things very, very convenient with MassMutual. Once you say, okay, I like everything, e-sign it, e-pay it, all electronic. You can elect paper as well. If you say, I like to sign it and just have everything, just I like to feel it, or send in a check, you can definitely do that too. And then one other thing I wanted to touch on, because this happens quite a bit in respect to starting a policy. If you are moving forward with a Guardian policy where you want to pay in, call it $50,000 per year, that's how much you plan on paying in, kind of like this example here. So we see $50K per year going in, but you don't want to get billed for it each year. So your plan is to pay in $50K per year for 10 years. But again, not get billed for that. So you say, I'd like to commit to the minimum, which if I look at the minimum here, what is it? I've got that annual premium at the top right, $5,000. I also have the cost of the term rider, which if I'm paying just the minimum, it'll be a little bit higher than that. Let's assume I just round up, and it's $6,000 per year. So if you said, okay, I'd like to commit to the minimum, round up to $6,000 per year, and I do plan on paying up to $50K per year, but again, I don't want to get billed for it. What we'll show you from a conceptual standpoint is what the numbers will look like if you paid in $50K per year, which is this guy right here. That's where we see the cash value, breaking even between 4 and 5, all that good stuff. Perfect. Initial death benefit with the term rider, $2 million. Okay, perfect. However, when we send a formal policy to the insurance company for issue, you say, this is the one I'm going to move forward with. Whatever we schedule in respect to the ongoing payments is what will be reflected on your formal contract. So, as we look at this guy, here is the exact same policy, $5,000 premium, you can see up there. There's the term rider, a little bit higher here because I'm not adding as much into PUAs on this illustration. What's the death benefit look like? Same value at $2 million. What's your cash value look like? Is it 40,000 and change? It's 546 bucks. What is going on here? Total payment of $6,000. If we want the contract, the formal contract with Guardian to reflect the same $50,000 per year for 10 years and those cash values based on the $50K per year, the company will require that we actually commit to that upfront. So a nice way to work around it is something like this, where we just have the $6,000 payment billed indefinitely, and the cash values do not look good at all. We even cut the term rider here after year 7, but in reality, you can do whatever you'd like afterwards. Day 1, you might say, you know what? I do want to add the other $44,000 to the policy. So I've got 6. Let me add another $44K for a total of $50,000. And then the cash value would actually look like this guy in the first year, the $41,238. If you paid it all up front. If you're adding PUAs at your discretion over the course of the year, you'll see this a little bit lower, only because payments begin to earn interest, PUA payments, upon the date of deposit. So it's good to have awareness on that piece. But the policy for issue will often look like this, just with the knowledge knowing when you make that payment, that's when it shows up in cash value. And if you follow the same plan as far as that 50 for 10 years, it'll look just like the last example. This guy, this term cut after 7 years, completely optional. Meaning I can send a policy like this to Guardian for issue. That term will not fall off unless we actually cut it off after 7 years. Same thing if I keep it on. You might say, hey, I plan to keep the term rider on. Now I want to chop it off. That is a manual adjustment that we need to make on our end. And we always keep you up to speed on that as well, because it's important to look at this stuff. This is what we've trained our company to do, because it's very important. My point to this is the actual values will not always be reflected in your formal contract, especially if you're starting with just the minimum numbers. Your contract will reflect values based on that minimum only. But then when you make the additional payments, that's where your original contract is almost invalid and will always provide in-force illustrations. Your online account will provide updated values, all of that good stuff. Let's close with making the policy official. So you pay, it's official. Here's what you can expect. You'll get online account instructions from our office. Our client relations department will email this directly to you. And this will really give you instructions on what to do to register an account with MassMutual, Guardian, or whatever insurance company you selected. You have a mobile app, you'll be able to track your values live. Helps you keep the finger on the pulse of everything in respect to your policy. Then you can register the account. We can help with that if you run into challenges. And then the client user package. This is something we've created that we make available to all of IBC Global policyholders. So I hope this one helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. Talk to you in the next video.